Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Hey everybody, Monday night. Welcome to Use a Whole, Body, Mind, and Soul. And I am going to be real quick because what I have to say today really doesn't matter at all. We're going to be talking about an American hero, Roger Boisjoly, who tried with all his might to stop that launch of Space Shuttle Challenger and was shot down. And with that, I want to turn it over right away to his brother Rick, who calls Roger his hero and who's been a friend now of mine for 9 years. And Rick, I just want to welcome you to the show and let's get into it. Let's talk about it. It was a Monday night, January 27th. 1986. What was going on, Rick?
Yes, I actually was running a small business up in Vermont, and somebody had the radio turned on in the news, and found out that the Challenger had just blown up, and I was so blown away by that because Roger was my oldest brother. I'm the one of 4 boys. He was 16 years older than me. And it was just devastating to me. And it took a while for it to sink in. And it was just, I just don't know how to comprehend it. But I know after I talked to him that he had 2 years worth of data to show that they had almost lost a rocket booster at 51 degrees Fahrenheit. And then there was ice on the launch pad at Canaveral before this went out. And they had never launched in that cold of a temperature. And my brother warned Morton Thiokol the night before that, well, they were on they had a call every night before a launch. All 40 or 44 or so of the contractors they would give their opinions and say if they were ready to launch or not. And my brother was adamant not to launch. And they went online and they had a 45 minutes heated discussion behind the streams before the management finally overrode him and said, we're good to launch. And that was Morton Thiokol, and that was the NASA phone call that they did before the launch. And I was just so, when I heard about this after the fact, I felt for him so badly because after it blew up on the launch pad, not on the launch pad, but 90 seconds into the air, he thought they had dodged a bullet, and then it went up, and so he was, he was distraught about it and never said another word about it. And then his and his wife, they both had PTSD over this. His family was ostracized, essentially. He was the mayor of Willard, Utah, and he was basically an outcast all of a sudden because everybody in Willard, Utah, which worked for Morton Thiokol, they thought they were going to lose their jobs. So he all of a sudden became enemy number one. And I learned about this a couple of years after because of the circumstances, the distance between us. I was just blown away by what happened to him, and he was vindicated after the fact. But the thing that that strikes me most is all of the astronauts' families approached him. He became a professional witness, essentially. And he offered to give them a deposition in each of their court cases against NASA. And when they realized that Roger Boisjoly was going to give a deposition in their court cases, they settled out of court for their millions. And that created all these local family space agencies that are now in it was like 6 of them, or 7 of them actually. And that's the thing that kind of irks me a little bit, is that never of one of those families ever found a way to thank my brother or his family for what they did for them. That's pretty much what I have to say about this point. So Justin, what do you got to say?
Well, first of all, there are so many wrongs here. I mean, here's a man that goes and leads with his heart, leads with ethics. I know that ethics are was a big part of his life and a big part of the Boisjoly family. And as we spoke today, you told me that was instilled by your parents. And Roger showed that day, and it cost him pretty much everything. And how much better would the world be if we had more Roger Boisjolys who would stand up and say, no, this is wrong? And how much better would we be if people listened to experts like Roger and said, you know what, let's launch next week when the temperature is 60 degrees and not launch at 18 degrees or whatever it was that day. So you're right. I just feel like he's been slighted in so many different ways, not only by NASA, but also the families as well, as you said. And I remember, Rick, one time I heard, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. He walked in the night before to his wife, Roberta, and she said, Roger, how was your day today? And he said, fine, except we're going to kill 7 astronauts tomorrow. Is that accurate?
Yes.
So he knew. I mean, he had very, very little doubt that was going to be the ultimate result, that space shuttle was not going to make it. He thought those O-rings were going to explode, as you said, on takeoff, because
on the launch, yes,
yeah, because they already failed. But I've seen reports that said there was some sludge in there that saved that, and it was when the sludge finally was dispersed, that's when the flame came through. And so, like you said, Roger thought, hey, we dodged the bullet, we made it, and only seconds later, was it 73 seconds or 60 some seconds into flight. And I also heard a story that he went to his office for hours and had tears running down his face, and somebody approached him and tried to talk to him, and he just put his hand up and said, no, just go away, just leave me alone.
Yes. Yes, it was a very sad day for him, and he had a very quiet ride home, and uh, both him, well, his whole family, suffered through this. He and his wife uh, went out on post-traumatic stress disorder, and went out for a 2-year leave on that, and they both went through nervous breakdowns and went through PTSD training, and it was very, very sad. And like I say, I wasn't in really close contact with them then because of the distance and the age difference of us. But we eventually caught up and got everything straightened out. But yeah, his two daughters went through hell, and they and every time I come up with something that maybe should be done to vindicate him, they did not want to get involved because of the trauma that was caused them as they were teenagers back then, and it was a very traumatic time for them, and I respected that and didn't pursue it any further.
Wow. And Rick, I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but about 9 or 8 years ago, you and I talked about going to New York and trying to get the 60 Minutes interview that was done, where they cut most of what Roger had to say about the whole thing. They just had very little, even that he didn't get his due.
Yes, you're right. Roger, I think it was the 15th anniversary of the Challenger disaster. It might have been the 20th. I may have that wrong. But 60 Minutes approached him to do an expose on the Challenger disaster. And they sent a team of 4 people out to his house in Utah, and they followed him around for 3 days and basically taped everything that he said, and he laid it all out on the line and told them exactly everything that happened up to the events and the Challenger disaster and his thoughts afterwards. And he was so jubilant that it was actually going to be able to tell his story. And so about 3 months later, and Roger called us all to let us know that he was going to be on TV. And they showed Roger on the TV and said, I knew it was going to blow up. And they showed him with a tear on his eye. And that was the teaser, if you will, of the commercial. And then they showed maybe 30 seconds of my brother, and they cut to a commercial, and that was it. So they never showed the story of what he spent 4 days with the camera crew in his face, doing all that. They never showed all that stuff. And I'm just so pissed off about it because my brother was a real guy, and we are all real guys. We were all trained to do the right thing in our lives. And I'm just really pissed off that they never showed all the footage, and shame on NBC for that.
Well, I applaud you, Rick, because that it takes guts to say what you just said, and I think it's horrific that he would have to endure all of that, go through those 4 days, and then still not be able to have his story told. And that's just, it's pathetic. And I won't use their names because I don't know if they would want me to, but I know his 2 daughters. We're friends on Facebook, and we've talked before. And I also respect that that they don't want to relive any of that. But boy, I wish someday, somehow, some way, Roger could be properly recognized as an American hero, because he is an American hero. I never met the man. I've only seen a few interviews with him, and I reached out to you 9 years ago because I wanted to know
Yes.
more about your brother. I wanted to. He just was a hero to me, and I don't throw that word around easy. If I tell you that somebody's my hero, I don't have a whole lot of them, but I have a few, and Roger's one of them. And because it's because of his fire and what I just saw in your face, the passion that you have, it seems like a Boisjoly trait. And I think that's something to be really, really proud of.
Well, yeah, that's how we were taught. We were taught by our parents to do the best of our life, to do a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. Always do your best, and whatever it is you choose to do in life, do it with a passion. And all 4 of us boys, all 4, did that. We accomplished our goals, and we made our parents proud, and we passed on our legacy to our children. And that's the cool thing about it, is that, tragedy aside, our legacy lives on because our grandnieces and our nieces and our nephews and our kids have all been taught these same values, passed on to our next generations.
And that's great. I have a vision in my head. Yeah, I know am I right? You're a pretty religious person or a spiritual person?
Yes.
I have envisioned in my own mind that when Roger passed away, and he was what, 72 when he passed away? What year was it,
Yes.
Rick?
72.
What year did he pass away?
2012.
2012. My vision is that when he got to the gates of heaven, there were 7 astronauts standing there at those gates, just applauding as he walked through. Because and every one of them, I think, gave him a big hug and said, "Thank you, Roger, for doing everything you tried to do. We noticed it, we saw it." And I think I really do believe that. I really believe that that happened.
I believe that too.
I think that he's such a special person. So the thank you that he's not getting here on Earth. Um, I know it's frustrating. It's frustrating to you more than it could be to anybody. It's frustrating to me, but obviously I wasn't family and I didn't know him. So for you, it's even worse. But um, that pales in comparison to what I believe he experienced on the day that he went home and he saw those 7 people and knew those 7 souls. And I think they're all together now. And I think that they're all, um, you know, in everybody, they're all heroes, all of them, every one of them. He
Yes,
left
I think so too.
he left a legacy that if more people knew about him, and then he went on to talk about ethics, right? I mean, after he got started to heal, he went out and he spoke about how ethics are really, really the most important thing that you can have in business.
Yes, he did. He did countless colleges and universities, and he had a program to talk about business ethics and how to go about yourself as a professional, and how to flag something that wasn't ethical. And he was he was the ultimate professional in that, because he had reams of data to back up all these examples that he talked about in his business things. And he did that to about 20 or 30 colleges and universities. And the one that he remembers the most was Columbia University, where on the Rogers Commission, Dr. Feynman, he was the Nobel-winning physicist, and he was the one on the Rogers Commission that asked Roger about the O-rings, and he set up an experiment where he had some ice water, and he put some rubber bands in the ice water, and he let them sit there for a few minutes, and then he pulled after he was talking to Roger, he pulled out the rubber bands from the ice water, and he basically stretched them, and they broke apart. They broke apart into his hands, and he says, "Do you think this is what happened to the O-rings?" And Roger said, "You've set a very good example of what happened," and that's exactly what happened, because it was cold temperature, and he did his best to try to stop it. But Dr. Feynman, he spoke at the university, and one of his associates met him, and basically he was unavailable at the time. Dr. Feynman was unavailable at the time, and he said, I just have the highest praise for you. And he let him in, and he basically gave him an autographed copy of Dr. Feynman's book that he wrote, at Columbia University. And he said, "I want you to know," this is the professor that greeted him. He says, "I want you to know that I do not have a signed copy of any of his books, and I've been an associate of his for 45 years. And so that's how much Dr. Feynman appreciated my brother.
That's incredible. And if I remember right, I think you told me this, that Dr. Feynman actually called Roger Dr. Boisjoly.
Yes, he did.
And Roger
every time he would call him with a question, he would direct him as Dr. Boisjoly. And my brother would always say, "No, I am not a doctor. I have just a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, and I am not a doctorate candidate or anything like that." And then Dr. Feynman would continue his question, "Dr. Boisjoly," and then he would ask his question. And it was my brother. It made my brother feel so good, that he was being paid attention to.
He earned it. And I think Dr. Feynman, when I saw the Rogers Commission, he seemed like a great man, and he understood greatness. I think he saw the greatness in your brother, and that's why he put him on his level and said Dr. Boisjoly. I think that's
Yes.
It's a really neat thing to have happen. Now, Thiokol really made it difficult for him afterwards too, right? I mean, they were not kind to him in any way, shape, or form.
No, he was ostracized. In fact, he was actually the mayor of the town where he lived in Willard, Utah, which was north of Salt Lake. And I was working for Morton Thiokol, and everybody was scared of losing their jobs. He received multiple threats. He tried to walk on the road to get some exercise during the day, and he was almost run off the road several times. And, basically they were run out of town, and he was the mayor of the town at the time. And so basically they chose to leave. and it was an awful time in their lives. And they were in the Mormon family, and he was an elder in the church and all that stuff. So it was a very bad time in their lives. And the two girls, they're now in their late 40s, early 50s, were really, they were really stained by that. Let's put it that way.
Sure. Now, fast forward, it's 2003, and you would think NASA would have learned their lesson from Challenger, if nothing else.
Yep.
To lose 7 people in a $2 billion shuttle, and yet they let it happen again in a different way with Columbia. What did that do to Roger when he saw that in 2003? He must have had flashbacks like no tomorrow.
Well, yeah, he actually was back and forth between Utah and New Mexico. They had a place in New Mexico for a while, and because I talked to him after the fact, a couple of days later when this happened, and because I tried to reach him, and he was unavailable. He did the same thing I did. We both looked at the video of the launch and how the shuttle hit the phone, on the launch, and we both came to the same conclusion without even talking to with ourselves until like several days later, because he just went out of town and he was incommunicado. The foam basically was like a rigid body that hit the fin of the aircraft that caused it to break up over the atmosphere, and NASA suppressed that for 5 or 6 days before they even said anything about it at all. And so they made the same mistake twice, and that was the workaround for the shuttle disaster was they were going to foam everything and insulate it. And it turned out to be another disaster because they didn't do that right either.
So that had to be so frustrating for Roger to not only see what happened in 1986, but then to see it happen again in 2003 and say, yes, when are you going to learn your lesson? When are you going to wake up? Because the foam strikes, just like as Roger pointed out about their O-rings, the foam strikes was not a surprise. Yeah. And they knew all week. NASA knew the entire week that, and knew long before that was a possibility, but still did not error on the side of caution. And I'm sure that frustrated him.
Yeah, it was business as usual.
And that's what the problem is. I think that's that way in a lot of, we're around the world right now, but I don't think it's just America. I think it's people looking out just for their own power and their own well-being. And, I don't want to be the one who raises my hand and says, wait, this isn't right. And if we don't have enough people do that, this is what we run into. We run into situations where you lose. Now it's 14 astronauts that are gone because of warnings that they were given by experts like your brother.
Yeah, and there were, it was either 4 or 5 astronauts that were launched that had to enter the atmosphere, and they perished. I can't remember all of them, but there were several astronauts that died when that second disaster happened.
Yeah, it was actually 7 astronauts in that one too. It was 14 total. Now I know this is really tough to talk about, but in one way, the Columbia crew might have been luckier because they died instantly as soon as that shuttle fell apart.
Yes.
Whereas the Challenger crew, in your opinion, and maybe I don't, maybe you know Roger's opinion, what his was, did they survive that? Because it was not an explosion; it broke apart. So did those astronauts survive that 2.5 minute fall to Earth, or do you think they were killed earlier than that?
They did. My brother told me after, we finally were able to talk, candidly, that the explosion basically separated the module from the rocket boosters, and they were basically knocked unconscious. And what killed them is the impact of hitting the seafloor at 190 miles an hour. They were alive when the Challenger blew up, and they were alive when they hit the seafloor, and that's what killed them.
Do you think they were conscious at that time, or do you think that they were?
Well, I think they were knocked unconscious, so I don't think they were really aware of what happened to them.
Well, thank God for that, because that's. I saw an interview with Story Musgrave, and he questioned whether they had been conscious for a while or how long they had been conscious, and it's sad to think of. I mean, because you're not going to survive it, and to have time to think about that must have been, if that happened, must have been torturous.
Well, that's what I was told by my brother, that they probably were unconscious when they hit the ocean floor.
I'd rather go with that scenario. That's the better way to go. But it's so frustrating that these things didn't have to happen. That even if you weren't worried about the people, how could NASA not be worried about the bottom line dollar, that they lost billions and billions of dollars through this? I mean, even if you exclude the human loss, which is worse than any amount of money you could possibly have, even the money issue. I mean, why would they risk that?
Yeah, it's sad how it all played out. It could have been so much better, but Morton Thiokol decided to. They offered Roger after he and his wife Roberta went through PTSD for a couple of years. They offered Roger a position at any of the other Morton Thiokol facilities worldwide. And basically he looked at them and said, "Are you kidding me? No matter where I go or where am I going to end up in a Morton Thiokol facility, my main name is still Roger Boisjoly, and I am going to be ostracized wherever I go. So you can keep your offer." And he walked away at that point.
Yeah.
And the thing that he did was there were several universities and other educational institutions that wanted him to come and speak at and tell his story and offer his knowledge to any of the college students that wanted to hear him. And during that, a couple of the professors approached him afterwards and said, "Hey, you have a good story to tell, but you have a lot of engineering knowledge, so maybe you ought to consider being a professional engineer." And so he went to Duke University, and he took I'm going to say it's the GREs. I'm not sure if I have the terminology down, but he also took the professional engineering exam that same weekend, and he passed and he got his PE license, and that allowed him to become a consultant. And he went as basically a professional witness in a lot of court cases. And he did really, really well with that for several years until the opposing attorneys realized who he was, and they started bringing up, in a deposition, they started bringing up Challenger, and of course it was automatically triggering, an episode within his mind, and he finally had to stop doing that. But he did that for about 10 years, and I'm very, very proud of him and what he did and how he stood up for the family values. And I got to connect with him before he passed away in 2012, and we had a very good reunion, and we golfed, and we went a lot of different places with him and his wife. And his wife has passed away as well, and he was my hero.
Yeah, and he's like I said, one of my heroes too. I mean, I told you before, one of the biggest regrets in my life is that I didn't write a letter sooner before he passed away, to have gotten a chance to shake his hand and just tell him what I thought about him, because I really, really admired him for what he stood for, who he was. And Rick, I feel the same way about you, and I feel the same way about your family. I think that you are all stand up, good, honest, hardworking people who care, and it's missing so much in this world today. So we're really appreciative of that.
Yeah, well, that's what we were taught. We were taught to give a full day's work for a full day's pay. Always do your best, and whatever it is you're trying to do it with a passion. And that's our family values, what we were all taught as young boys. And we all lived that dream. We had two educators. My two middle brothers were high school French teachers and college professors. My only living brother was a PhD in business and finance, and he had a great degree. And now he's starting to fail as well as, I don't know how much longer I have, but I'm 72, and I'm just hoping that I can make it a few more years and pass on as much of the legacy to my grandchildren, and we'll see them soon. So it's a pretty cool thing, and I have no regrets. I've emptied my tank, and I've given it all I can.
It seems like that's a Boisjoly trait. It's pretty cool. I know you talked about there was a movie done as well. Like you were telling me earlier that they did a movie, but they didn't really give Roger any credit or any kind of.
Yeah, there was a Netflix, and I saw trailers of it about Challenger, and it was a Netflix thing that was about, I'm going to say 6 or 7 years ago. I might have it wrong, but it was in that time frame. And I never really watched any of the trailers, but one of my brother's co-workers hooked up with another guy who was it was Chapman College in South Orange, Florida, and they conspired to take the manuscript that my brother wrote before he died. It was on his computer that he donated to Chapman University, and they basically stole his work, and they created this movie Challenger on Netflix. And I'm sure they made a lot of money on this. And my brother never got credited. They called him some other name in the movie, and like I say, that was his life's work. And like I say, he was dying of cancer, and he finally decided to write the book that he always wanted to publish, but he never did. And it's very sad that these people would have to capitalize on something that he did that they didn't do. And it saddens me, because I met this chancellor of the Chapman University, and he came to my brother's funeral in 2012, and he seemed genuine, but all that went away because of the promise of probably money for the university.
Just adds on to the tragedy that happened to Roger. But like we said earlier, in the end, the most important recognition that he got was the day that he went home.
Yes.
And people knew that, and the gates opened up, and I'm sure God said, "Well done, my faithful servant."
Yes.
And I really believe there were 7 astronauts that were there that greeted him and just gave him a big hug and said, "We know you tried, and we appreciate it."
Exactly. And Justin, we've spoken several times before, and really appreciate all your encouragement, and listening to my story and my family's story, because you're a great guy.
I really appreciate that, Rick. And if ever the ladies decide that they want to do something, and I would have your back. I would go with you to New York and do whatever we needed to do. So I don't know if that'll ever happen, but if it does, you can count on me.
Yeah, I'm sure the 16 Minutes episode have been buried long ago, and they'll never see the light of day. But that's a story for another day.
Yeah. Well, Rick, I want to thank you so much. On short notice, I got in touch with you today. I tried to get you last week, but I wasn't able to. I got you today, and for you to do this has really meant a lot to me. So thank you very much, and thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you were able to reach me, and sorry that I wasn't available sooner, because I was glad to do this. And it's it's Roger Boisjoly Day tomorrow.
That's right. And I'll make sure there's a tribute on Facebook tomorrow. You'll see it.
All righty. Take care,
Rick,
bud.
thanks so much.
Thank you.
You take care. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Will do.
Right. Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what everybody should be doing. Everybody. Ethics. It's important. When you look in the mirror, what do you see? Do you see somebody who's better than everybody else? Do you see somebody who's looking out for their best interest, or do you see somebody who really cares about other lives? And that's what you got with the 2 men that we talked about tonight, Roger Boisjoly and brother Rick Boisjoly. So we're going to end with the little vignette that we play at the end of every show. It's going to be about the charity game. And like Roger, I'm trying to go beyond my own person, beyond myself. And the way to do that for me is to run the charity, Checkmates Charitable Association. We're going to have our hockey game, our NHL Celebrity Hockey Game, on August 23rd, 2025. And we're going to have special guests. Here is a little video to show past years, and then we'll wrap up the show.
Hey everybody, I just want to tell you how thankful I am that you came out tonight and helped us out on a very special evening. Crohn's and colitis are terrible diseases, and they affect a lot of people, not only in the Delaware Valley, but all over the world. And hopefully someday.
Nolan here with you at the Checkmates versus the Flyers alumni. We had a great time this afternoon. Game was close, and we're all here for Checkmates Charities, which is the real reason that everybody's here, not only the players, but all the fans that were here. It was a great day, and we're really happy to be here.
It was fun to be out here at the Northeast Skate Zone because the Checos were a pretty good team, and so we had a lot of fun with the charity.
And it was good because they took it easy on us old guys. So we had a good time. So anytime you can do something for charity, and I know a couple guys on the other team, and just be on the rink, we all go have fun.
Good times go. I'm either gone in an instant or here to the bitter end. I never know what I got.
I want to thank my family for all that they did to help me get through this, and there's a lot of planning that get done. It has to get done. I want to thank Nick's Roast Beef and Cotman Avenue for all they've done. Dr. Prieto for saving my life, finding the disease and treating me for so long, and the Flyers organization for all they do to help us raise money every year. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
And baby, I'm ready to go. But as we go, I just want to say we can fit 1,000 people in that rink. I say this almost every week. 1,000 people in that rink. I want 1,000 hugs, and I want 700 hugs at the dinner afterwards. And I'm going to fight to get every bit of it. And there's our website. There's where you can buy the tickets. It's www.checkmatescharity.com. www.checkmatescharity.com, and that's where you can buy your tickets. Look at the players that are going to be there: Mark Recchi, Brian Pratt, Rod Brindamore, Kevin Deneen, Chris Terry, and Doug Crossman, Todd Fedoric, and then we have other celebrities who will be there as well. So it's going to be a star-studded event, the best event, and a 2-hour open bar. Notice I highlighted that on the website there. So you get a 2-hour open bar with the buffet. Joe Conklin, look at that. Lauren Hart, Rolf Benershka kicked with the bag for 8 years. I mean, just amazing. Kerry Frazier became a really good friend, a legendary NHL referee, should be in the Hall of Fame. But this is my attempt to be a Roger Boisjoly. Roger Boisjoly was a hero. I'm not comparing myself to him in any stretch of the imagination. I'm not a hero at all. But if we could all be a little bit of Roger Boisjoly's, then maybe we can make the world a lot better place than it is right now. So come out August 23rd of this year, and let's have a day to celebrate life and make people's lives a whole lot better, those with Crohn's, colitis, and an ostomy. All right, everybody, I want to thank you again for your time. I always enjoy having you, and I'm looking forward to, and thank you for making me number one. Last week, we were the #1 ranked show on the network, and I appreciate that very much. So hopefully we'll keep that rolling. Thanks a lot. Have a great week, and be a Roger Boisjoly.
In a world full of noise, misunderstandings, and interruptions, master the art of listening with Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. Dr. JACALYN KERBECK is the listening mentor of USA Global TV and Radio, and the Amazon #1 best-selling author of Mastering the Power of Elevated Listening. Elevate your listening. Elevate your life. Join a global learning experience in person or via Zoom. Reserve your spot today. usaglobaltv.com/book-your-session or drjacalyn.thinkific.com. Join Dr. KERBECK's listening courses or hire her to unlock deeper connections and authentic conversations. Have you ever felt unheard? Like your words float into a void, leaving you invisible and disconnected? How about feeling judged, when assumptions overshadow your truth, leaving you misunderstood and defensive? And then there's that moment when someone offers solutions you never asked for, dismissing your feelings and leaving you more frustrated than before. It doesn't have to be this way. Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, the listening mentor, understands. She's here to help you reclaim your voice, build stronger connections, and create meaningful conversations that inspire understanding and mutual respect. Through her groundbreaking books, online and in-person courses, and interactive workshops, you'll learn how to navigate life's most challenging interactions. Discover the power of elevated listening and transform how you communicate. Master setting boundaries and asking permission to protect your peace. Learn to recognize and release judgment, fostering empathy and true connection. Dr. KERBECK also offers personalized coaching, one-on-one or group sessions designed to fit your unique needs. Whether in person or virtually on StreamYard, her guidance will empower you to thrive. You don't have to struggle alone. The path to deeper connections and better relationships start here. Visit drjacalyn.com or usaglobaltv.com. Join a global community of empowered listeners and transform your life, one meaningful conversation at a time. Dr. JACALYN KERBECK is the listening mentor. Start your journey today. Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honored to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com. A space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/usaglobaltv. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dies. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.